Chapter 3. Felix was too hot. He had been sunbathing contentedly for several hours, moving only to chase the patch of sun around the clearing. There were not many days like this left, so he was making the most of the warmth while he could. Today it was humid as well as sunny though, and the forest was now stifling. Felix needed some air. He heaved his great weight off the ground and made for a dike near the northeastern corner of the forest. The dike frequently became waterlogged when it rained, and Felix was hoping to find a muddy patch or even a small pool in which to cool down. His path took him through a part of the forest filled with tall conifers, the trees planted in orderly rows. Some of the trees were marked with splodges of paint in various colours. Felix didn't understand the meaning of the colours, but knew it had something to do with their age or health. Those with splodges were destined to be felled. Felix disliked the order and symmetry in this managed stand of trees. It was soulless and eerily quiet. Few animals lived here, as there was little protective cover. It was mostly occupied by burrowers and birds. The deer used it as a thoroughfare to the fields beyond, as it provided easy passing. Crows and ravens dominated life within the branches, their caws echoing through the tunnels of empty space. The roar of a chainsaw was enough to keep any animal at distance, even if the loggers meant them no harm. Sometimes the loggers cleared whole sections, leaving ugly spaces with no cover. It could take several years for the stumps to be removed and replaced with young saplings. Felix heard a branch snapping and looked over his shoulder to see who was approaching. A handsome red deer stag was making his way out to the fields to graze. It was approaching rutting season, and the stag was in peak condition. His muscles rippled under his sleek coat, and his enormous antlers sat like a crown atop his head. Felix grunted a cursory greeting and continued on his way. "Did you hear about the hunters?" Patinus called after him. Felix paused. He was not in the humour for chit-chat, but he was curious about the hunters. "3 sows lost in the eastern sounder," Felix said. "I hear you lost 2 stags." "4," Patinus said. "2 were caught grazing out in the bight, but 2 others made a sprint for it and almost got back to the trees. We thought they might make it, but it was so bright the hunters still managed to see them." "Shame," Felix said, unconcerned by the losses. The more deer the hunters took, the fewer boars they would seek out. "Looks like another clear night," Patinus said. "Hopefully we won't lose as many tonight." Felix didn't often share the benefits of his wisdom, but Patinus was a powerful stag. Like Felix, he was a survivor, and Felix liked to keep him on side. "Keep away from the bite for a few nights, just to be safe," Felix said. That was enough conversation for Felix, and without waiting for any acknowledgement, he turned and continued on his original course. Oh, the joy of cold water on a hot day! Felix trotted along the base of the dike, looking for the deepest pools. The dike was shaded from the sun, and the muddy pools were cool and refreshing. Felix preferred water to mud at this time of year. Mud was great in summer, sticking to his coarse bristles as it dried and protecting him from the intense heat. The days were getting shorter now, though, and the nights cooler. He did not need such a long-lasting effect. Water provided instant relief, but it dried more quickly than mud, meaning Felix could be toasty warm again by sundown. The recent rain had fallen in a sudden deluge and had left numerous deep pools that would accommodate Felix's considerable size. He splashed happily, watching a nearby family of voles going about their business. They kept their distance, but otherwise paid him no attention, which was just the way he liked it. Felix was in no rush. Afternoons like this would be rare from now on, as the days became cooler and the sun sank lower and lower in the sky. He might have to wait until spring for such a luxurious bath. When he was finally rejuvenated, he hauled himself up the steep bank and trotted back into the forest in search of an equally luxurious dinner. Felix stood beneath a large apple tree, combing the ground for any remaining windfalls. The tree was heavy with fruit, but windfalls were gobbled quickly by the hungry forest dwellers, and few remained on the ground for long. As Felix snuffled through the leaves, he heard a welcome sound in a nearby oak. A small group of squirrels was scurrying from bough to bough, collecting precious acorns for their winter cache. "Ahoy there, squirrels!" Felix shouted as appeasingly as he could muster. The squirrels froze on their branches, their limbs and tails splayed in an attempt at camouflage. Squirrels are alert animals with excellent sight and hearing, but they had been so preoccupied they had not noticed Felix approaching. His deep voice had caught them off guard. Lily, a particularly doe-eyed girl, looked bashfully in his direction. "How can we help you, Felix?" she said. It always paid to be in Felix's good graces. "Any chance you guys could shimmy up this tree and knock down a few apples?" Felix said through his toothiest smile. The squirrels obliged without quarrel. They sprang through the air from limb to limb, sending a flood of apples to the ground. When one animal clonked Felix squarely on the top of his head, he heard a small titter from the branch above him. If he did not know any better, he would swear the little creature had done it on purpose. No matter, they had done the trick. The ground around him was now littered with luscious fruit. Felix settled in for a scrumptious meal.